Good morning and welcome to another edition of Our Town. It's on 94.9 and 99.1 The River. My name is Darren Swenson. Our Town, as always, brought to you by Decorah Bank and Trust. 6 guests, 5 interviews on the program, so let's get right to it. A little later on in the program, we will talk to Caledonia football coach Carl Fruechte. This weekend, he is going into the Minnesota Football Coaches Association Hall of Fame. We'll talk about the issue of Child Abuse Awareness Month with Dave Burrett and Chris Wuebker. They are with the Decorah Police Department and the Winneshiek County Sheriff's Office, respectively. Coming up Saturday morning, an input session regarding the future of the sustainability plan in Decorah and how you can get involved. Jim Martin-Schramm from the Decorah Sustainability Commission will tell us all about that. Coming up Saturday as well, the Winneshiek County Historical Society will have their open house and annual meeting, and Stacey Gossling will be there to tell us all about that. But first things first, this morning, it's Women's Weekend out in Decorah, and let's hear from Jessica Rilling from the Decorah Area Chamber of Commerce about all the fun that will be taking place this weekend in Decorah. It's Our Town. It's brought to you by Decorah Bank and Trust, and you're listening to it on 94.9 at 99.1 The River. Getting here this morning with Jessica Rilling from the Decorah Area Chamber of Commerce, and the annual event coming up this weekend is Women's Weekend Out. And as we talk here, and you brought visual aids, very good job. So somewhere, one of your elementary school teachers is smiling ear to ear with your visual aids that you brought there, Jessica. But this coming up this weekend at Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. It's an annual event and a lot of fun planned this weekend. Jessica, what's the mission? What's the goal of this annual event in Decorah?
Yeah, this is the 22nd year of Women's Weekend Out, and the group of business owners, small business owners that started this event 22 years ago, really started it and came together and said, we'd like to get people here at the beginning of the spring to spend money locally. So that was how they originally crafted it, was as a kickoff to spring event with a really big emphasis on supporting retail and restaurant businesses in the community. So it's got a great tradition. 22 years is a long time for an event. And there are some things that people have enjoyed every year. The style show, for example, Joan Tupi with Jade Tupi's has led a Saturday morning style show and brunch for a long time. And that's one of the favorites. But what I like about this event, and I think too, what folks would just say makes it really fun, is there's so many participating locations. There's more than 40, and it's in-store specials, entertainment, food and drink. And we do see folks coming back every year as using this event as a reason to gather and spend time with friends and family and have fun. So yeah, there's a lot of great things happening, and it's a really good menu. So much that we have to make a whole program for it to keep it all in one place. We have that on the chamber website under the Women's Weekend Out event. So you can kind of see all the things that are taking place Friday, Saturday, Sunday. There's a lot to choose from. A lot of it is free. There are a few things that are ticketed.
And it seems like it's an event that year in and year out, not only you market it to perhaps out of town people to come into town and have a fun weekend in Decorah, but you also market it to local folks as well.
Yes. Well, I think, with the snow this week, which will certainly be gone by Friday, everyone is especially excited to say it's spring and get out of the house. And so, yes, we market it both locally and at a state and regional level. So we do see both residents and visitors use it as an opportunity to, be out and about in the community and support small business.
And let's just go kind of day by day and give some of the highlights of the event coming up this weekend. What's on the docket for Friday?
Yeah, so again, like a long list. I won't be able to read through all of them, and I hope you'll take time to go and check out the program on the chamber website. But some things to give you a taste. The store Agora Arts, and Gail's on that committee for Women's Weekend Out. She's been doing fun stuff for a long time. Does 4 to 7 on Friday is a Bubbles, Baubles, and Bling champagne party. And that sounds fun.
Love the celebration too.
Yeah, I'm excited. We've got a happiest hour. Driftless Yoga and Impact Coffee are doing a yoga and mocktail mini event. There's bingo at Impact Coffee, craft cocktails at Rendered Unique. There's a gallery opening. It happens that it's the first Friday of the month. And so there's a gallery open at Art House, which is wonderful timing. Folks can go in and check out the Emerging Artists exhibit, which starts. Line dancing at Convergence, no experience required. You can go and learn while you're there. And that one, 7 to 8 is the learning. And then dancing starts at 9. Pulpit has live music. There's a comedy show at T-Box. That one's ticketed. So a lot Friday. We know a lot of people are coming in. Some come in Thursday. But a lot come into town on Friday. So a busy evening. Do you want me to hit Saturday too? There's a lot of good stuff.
That was going to be my next question. We've talked to each other enough on the air that we're finishing each other's sentences now. That's I'll take it as a positive, Jessica.
That's right. Well, Saturday, the day after Friday, lots of good things too. So the Style Show brunch is the long-standing Saturday morning. It's a nice chance to sit, have brunch, drinks if you like, and watch a lot of the downtown businesses showcase their spring lines, which is fun. So the locals know all the models and the visitors, of course, have fun getting to know them. That one's an advanced ticket, and any store that's participating in that has the tickets available. There are things outside of the downtown too. Of course, all weekend we have a lot of great places that are just outside of town. Market 52, which is on just north of town. So a lot of people are coming into town that way, or maybe leaving that way. Has stuff all weekend long. Saturday morning they do breakfast, and they have Mill Street Mocha and Gabby Lou's, which is out of Harmony, doing drinks and food. So it's Saturday morning's a fun time if you're coming in to town Saturday morning and driving 52. That's a good stop. It's right on the highway. There's a craft and vendor show at Winneshiek County Fairgrounds, which has a lot of vendors. This is a benefit event for the Alzheimer's Association. The Girl Scouts make lunch. That one's a fun one to walk through. And then a lot of stuff happening, of course, just in the downtown shopping during that day. A lot of stores will host like a pop-up shop or a special vendor. And Saturday's a really good day for that, to hop in and out of the stores and see what they have going on. A lot of live music at Toppling Saturday night, Driftless Jazz at Impact Coffee Saturday night, live music at Pulpit Rock. And a lot of the places do a special cocktail for the weekend. Pulpit has one that's like the women all help brew for Women's Weekend Out, which is nice. So it's fun to watch for those. Okay,
And of course, the weekend closes out with a few events on Sunday as well.
It does. So there's a few things that I would suggest for Sunday morning, just in town for breakfast. And then if folks haven't been to Empty Nest Winery, if they're sticking around for a bit, they do Secrets of the Cellar and trivia on Sunday. So that's Empty Nest is out of town to the east. So a lot of opportunities if you're coming in or going out of town, which is why it's good to check the program and kind of make a plan for what looks good to you. So yeah, I don't know. Line dancing, maybe we'll see you there, Darren. Is there something else that piqued your interest?
On the line dancing front, I tried that in Nashville, Tennessee a couple of years ago, and a few people, the place I was at had to increase their liability insurance. So
okay.
maybe for safety reasons, I should probably stay away. So,
well, that noted. The other thing I would say is if folks haven't been to the Decorah community since the last Women's Weekend Out, we have 4 new businesses in the downtown district. So of course, visit your favorites, but I would recommend that they stop in and check out Kampai Soda Shop, Driftless Botanicals, Salou Sauna and Wellness Spa, and Rod and Rivet. Those are all new since last year, which is really great to meet those business owners and stop in and say hi.
And you mentioned looking at the program, 47 businesses involved with this weekend, and it's the 22nd year of this event. What has given this event its staying power?
Well, I think cabin fever will be a real thing for a long time. So the timing of it is wonderful. Kickoff, spring event. I would also say, the small business owners that make up the committee for this just feel really passionate about it and are putting a lot of time and energy into making it great. So we feel really lucky to work with all of them. And, the chamber's role in this is to pull it all together, make it easy to find the information, and help promote it at a really big scale. So we're happy to do that. It's a great weekend to be in the town.
And where, again, can people find all the information?
So we do have a lot of places have more in-depth information on their own social media. So we know people have favorite stores they're coming to visit. Definitely be following those and checking on what specifics they have. But we do have this overall program for the weekend available on DecorahAreaChamber.com. We have a Women's Weekend Out event page. And so it's kind of that big list that we just went through about Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and then each of the participating businesses have a description. So if it's your first time in the community, it's actually a really fun kind of comprehensive shopping list of just all the different types. The community has a real diversity of small business, and it's fun to kind of look through and see all of those different choices.
Anything we're missing, and anything else from the chamber perspective that you want to pass along as long as you got the forum this morning?
Oh my goodness. Well, I would just say keep shopping small. That message is important all the time. So we love big events like this to have just the energy and have people coming and shopping in person. But I don't know. I think the vibrancy, the staying power, like you said, a lot of that is because we actively support the small businesses year round. Then they can do fun stuff like this on a weekend. So.
Sounds like a plan. Another fun weekend planned in Decorah for Women's Weekend Out. Check it all out at the Chamber website. Jessica, appreciate the time and the knowledge as always, and we'll hold you to it that the snow will be gone by Friday.
Okay, I feel okay about that.
All right.
Sounds good.
Anything with an ology at the end, like meteorology, is an inexact science. I'll remind folks of that. So, Jessica Rilling from the Decorah Area Chamber of Commerce. With us now is Stacey Gossling. She is with the Winneshiek County Historical Society, and coming up this weekend, they will have their annual meeting and open house on Saturday. And Stacey, before we get into the specifics of Saturday's event, tell us about the Winneshiek County Historical Society. What is your mission? What is your charge?
Well, our mission is to save historical items, whether they are photos or actual objects, diaries, anything that has to do with Winneshiek County's history. We keep and preserve it. We keep everything in archival safe boxes and keep it so that the next generation can have access to it.
What will take place at your annual meeting coming up on Saturday? Where will it be located? And what are the hours of the event on Saturday?
So on Saturday, we're having our annual meeting. We're kind of doing it a little differently this year. We're doing a come and go, but it's also open to the public. It's from 11 to 2. It's in our office / house at 302 South Mill Street. Many people in town know it as the Bodensteiner House. And it's paid members will be allowed to vote. We're voting on different township directors, president, secretary, those type of things. So it's important that you cast your vote as a member so that you know things are going in the direction that you want. So.
And related to holding this and making it kind of an open house more than a private meeting, what made members of your board decide to go in that direction this year?
So we decided, since we have taken over the front part of our house, which for years and years has been an apartment, we've taken over the front part and used it as a display area. So we can put up different displays for people to come in and see. You know, the Historical Society this year is celebrating 61 years. And so for 61 years, they have been taking in objects and papers and you name it. But nobody's really seen some of the things that we have. So we decided that having the front part of the house open and to be able to use it for display area would be the perfect idea. We put out a call for, because obviously we don't have that income coming in for the rent that was being paid for the apartment. But we have had a tremendous response from people in the community. So we have our bills are more or less covered for this year for being able to use the space as display area.
And what are some of the displays folks that stop by on Saturday can see?
So we have a Kilties display. A lot of people may not realize the Kilties actually started out as the Decorah Drum Corps back in the 1870s. We have photos from different times with the Kilties. We have uniforms. We have 2 uniforms up for display. One's, you know, an older one, and one, of course, is more recent. So people can come and see about the history of the Decorah Kilties and the Decorah Drum Corps. And we also have on display Leighton Huffman photos. So Leighton Huffman, a lot of people in, you know, Winneshiek County or Northeast Iowa don't realize who he was, but he was born in Castalia in 1854. His father was a photographer, had a place over in Waukon, a photography studio. Leighton learned from his father how to be a photographer. And as it's written or researched, someone broke his heart and he did leave the area. He went up to Minnesota, and then he ended up he went out to Montana, to Fort Keogh. I'm not sure how to say that word, in Montana. And he was an American photographer of frontier and Native American life. He worked at the fort taking photos. Then he started selling prints of his glass plate negatives. His father was Perrin Huffman. And in, let's see, about 1879 is when he went from Minnesota to Miles City, Montana territory to work as the post photographer, which was the military post established after the Battle of Little Bighorn, as we all know. And we do have, I know of at least one veteran that's buried in Burrett that died at the Battle of Little Bighorn. So, and he captured photographs of landscapes, animals, early ranches, street scenes, and people. And it's believed that his pictures of buffalo hunting between 1880 and 1883 are some of the few that actually exist. There's been 2 books written about him. One is called Before Barbed Wire, and the other one is The Frontier Years. He also in 1976 was inducted into the Hall of Great Westerners at the National Cowboy and Western Heritage in Oklahoma City. And it's really kind of amazing when you think of what he did. So he sort of assembled a camera for himself out of mail order catalogs and threw all of his stuff on the back of his horse and went out and started taking all these photographs. And they're estimating that just his photography equipment, his camera, his tripod, his glass plate negatives, that alone would have been 50 pounds.
Wow.
For him, yeah, for him and his horse to be lugging around. And some of the photos he actually took while sitting on his horse. So it's kind of amazing to think that he did that. He also, Theodore Roosevelt visited Huffman's studio in Miles City, Montana in 1884. And he later displayed 6 large Huffman prints in the White House. And Leighton also helped President Roosevelt in his program of establishing the National Forest. So he was very into making sure that things stayed the way they should be. In 1885, as he was the Custer County Commissioner, and then in 1893, he was elected a representative of the Montana House. So all from, he was born on a farm outside of Castalia and has become this infamous photographer. And I guess I don't think a lot of people realize that he was one of us.
Wow. Kind of a neat story. I mean, that's why I like having people like you and Elizabeth Lorenzen on. I always learn something when I have conversations with you folks from the Historical Society. And I know you mentioned this is a public event. I know you've done the Dickens on Mill the last couple of years. How important is it to have these public events just to make the public a little bit more aware of what all you're involved in?
I think it's very important. They say you have to look back at history so that we don't repeat it, of course. And, what better way to find out about your local history than at your local historical society? They're the people that are saving all that information, with the public's help. And, to be able to have people come in with their kids and explain to them some of the things. We have one photo of a buffalo hunt, that Leighton had taken, and you don't see that anymore, obviously, because there aren't buffalo wandering around anymore. But it was part of our history. So I think it's vital that the community as a whole, stands behind the historical society, whether you are interested in history or not. Someone, further down your not past your generation may be interested and want to use the resource of the historical society. We help school kids with projects like National History Day projects. We constantly get calls for people that are writing books, either about the area, or they want to know, what the area was like in 1860, how many people were here, and things like that. So, really a lot of different groups of people depend on their local historical societies.
And give us the final details once again about the event coming up on Saturday.
Okay, it is Saturday from 11 to 2. We will have light refreshments provided. And we invite anybody and everybody. You don't have to, be a member now. You can come and sign up that day. And a lot of people have always been curious about the front part of the house that we have, because it is 1860s is when the front part was built. So it is pre-Civil War. And it's kind of fascinating to go in there.
Any other details you want to pass on from the Historical Society's perspective, as long as you got the forum this morning?
No, just we would like anybody and everybody. We know there's a lot of things happening in town this weekend, and while you're out, just come on up, buzz past the house there, and come and see what we have.
Stacey, appreciate the time and the knowledge. As I mentioned, always learn something when I talk to the good folks at the Winneshiek County Historical Society, and always appreciate you guys taking the time. Enjoy the event coming up this weekend.
All right. Thank you, Darren.
Stacey Gossling from the Winneshiek County Historical Society, the annual meeting and open house coming up this Saturday at the house on Mill Street. Having a conversation this morning with Jim Martin-Schramm. He is with the Decorah Sustainability Commission, and that commission is in the process of gathering some public input about the City of Decorah's sustainability plan. One opportunity to do so occurred last night as this airs, and got another one coming up this Saturday, Jim. But before we get into the specifics of what will take place on Saturday, explain what the sustainability plan for the City of Decorah is. How long has it been in place, and why are you looking to perhaps deviate from the original plan and look forward to the future and change some things that you put into place 5 years ago?
Sure. Thanks, Darren. Thanks for the invitation to join you today. The Decorah Sustainability Commission is one of the City of Decorah's official commissions and boards. We were created in part in 2020 to help the city implement the Decorah Sustainability Plan. That plan was developed over 2 years, 2018, 2019, by various concerned citizens, elected officials, etc., in the city of Decorah. The plan was approved and adopted by the city council. I want to say it was March of 2020, something like that. And then shortly thereafter, the city established the Decorah Sustainability Commission to, in large part, help implement that plan. One of the assumptions in the plan is that the plan will be updated every 5 years. And so we're in the 4th year, and 2024, and we think it'd be a good use of our time now to sort of step back, assess what we've managed to accomplish over the last 4 years or so, figure out what are those items that we haven't accomplished that are still in the plan that we want to continue trying to get across the finish line. And then, more importantly, to reach out to the community and ask them, what do you think we ought to be working on? The plan has 8 action areas, and I'm going to have to cheat and go look, but they're energy.
Go right ahead, Jim.
Energy, economic development, land use, waste, air and water, social sustainability, transportation. Did I say economic development? So I don't know if I've hit all 8, but you get a sense, right, for how wide-ranging the plan is. The commission started with 7 members. At some point, we expanded to 9 members, and we are now at 9. I think we have 2 vacancies, but I know we have 1 active application that I expect that person to be appointed by the city council at their next meeting. So anyway, yes, the session we had last night at Pulpit was a chance for community members to come meet the members of the commission, kind of rotate around the room to both learn what we've accomplished and also to provide input about what they think the city of Decorah should be focusing on as it explores land and water issues, economic development, energy, etc.
What are some of the things that this plan has accomplished since its implementation back in March of 2020?
Yeah, with so many areas, there are in fact a lot of things. Probably each action area had anywhere from 6 to 26 action items. And so I figured you were going to ask me this question, and so I pulled up some of the single sheet summary documents that will be available, that were available at the event last night and will be at the next one on Saturday morning, again at Pulpit. On the energy side, that's one of the areas that I'm involved with. The city, one of our action items was for the city to accept and adopt Iowa's Building Energy Code. We established the Municipal Electric Utility Task Force. The plan, we worked with the city to analyze possible investments in energy efficiency and renewable energy. And so the solar on the streets building and the solar at the campground, that all came out of that work. We have a baseline study of our installed renewable energy capacity, as well as a baseline study, a 2020 baseline study of the city of Decorah as a single entity, and the city of Decorah as a whole city in terms of our baseline greenhouse gas emissions. And we've helped to get electric vehicle charging stations installed in various places around the city. So those are some of the accomplishments on the energy side. On the waste side, we have designed and purchased 5 recycling receptacles in downtown Decorah. We helped secure USDA, I think it was USDA, might have been EPA grant money, over $100,000 for the city of Decorah to administer a pilot composting program at the city yard waste site to divert a significant amount of food waste from the landfill. And we worked with the Winneshiek County conservation folks to distribute over 100 backyard composting bins. So those are examples on the waste side. On air and water, quite a bit. Adopted a stormwater management ordinance, studied how to develop appropriate stormwater management fees, held meetings with the city engineer to discuss future stormwater fees, initiated a dry run plan to manage the dry run creek area and hopefully to reduce the chances of flooding in the future. Supported grants that were awarded the city for stormwater management and flood mitigation, purchased 2 air quality sensors, and worked with the Luther College Center for Sustainable Communities and getting them set up and monitoring them. Actually, I should say the Environmental Studies program to do that. So those are just examples. With 8 action areas, I could be reading bullets for the rest of our time. But a wide range of things.
No doubt about that. Granted, that's a lot that has been accomplished in the first 4 years that this plan has been in place, and throughout the first few months of the plan being in place. That was during the COVID time where you probably didn't have a lot of time to gather people and to get some of those initiatives in place. But is there anything on that list where there's still work to be done? I guess you could probably say that in every aspect, but is there some areas that need more work than others?
Well, there are certainly things that we haven't gotten to yet that we do want to keep pursuing. Like, for example, Ice Cave Road. I don't have the exact wording right now, the action item in the current plan, but it has to do with, taking Ice Cave Road, which I don't think at that time had yet been decommissioned as a road, but taking that whole swath of the river and that hillside and those great attractions at Denning Spring and Ice Cave, and maximizing the tourist potential for them and related economic development. And so We originally were going to focus just on Ice Cave Road, but then and to do this well, you really have to have a kind of professional firm study things and figure out areas that really need to be addressed. We know we have some serious erosion problems on that hillside. I mean, as you know, the road is falling into the river. So you have to be careful, right, about what you do there for the public. But it is such an enormous opportunity. And that's what we saw, right? During COVID, we saw just, huge lines of cars of people come into Decorah to explore our beautiful natural areas. And so our original thought was, yeah, we need a kind of a game plan just for Ice Cave Road. But then we realized, well, yeah, but we also need a game plan for the whole park rec system in Decorah, because our park rec program or system is really remarkable. This could be apocryphal, but my understanding is we have more public land, park land per capita than any other community in the country. Now that could be it could be a nice Decorah person blowing our horn. I don't know if it's true, but look around, we have a lot of it. And so anyway, that's an example of a place where we need to do a good job managing those facilities and making them available to the wider public. But in this case, we want to fold that into an even bigger, comprehensive sort of look at the Decorah Park Rec system. And so that's, that isn't just our purview. We have a Park Rec board. That's their job. And so rather than us just do one piece of it in our little, sphere, it's better for us to network with the broader city to get that done. So that's an example. Buried in not buried, but at the very outset of the sustainability plan is a sort of breezy comment that Decorah will be carbon neutral by 2040. Well, it's 2024. And carbon neutrality, ask Luther College if carbon neutrality is an easy thing. I mean, they're at 72%, which is remarkable. But we don't even have a climate section to our plan. And so going forward, the energy section will become energy and climate. And we'll probably look at adopting some more interim goals. Okay, if we want to be 100% carbon neutral by 2040, what do we need to do by 2028 and 2032 and 2038 and then 2040? I don't know. I'm just picking numbers. And I mean, Darren, that's really hard, complicated stuff. And so what's cool is we do have 2020 baseline studies of what Decorah's greenhouse gas emissions are as an entire community, but also as the city government operations. So we're not starting from scratch. And frankly, the city has an enormous amount of installed renewable energy capacity, and as a result, our carbon footprint is much smaller on a per capita basis compared to lots of other places. So that's an example of something where we want to kind of dig in a little harder and figure out what's next. I'll stop there.
And when you look at some of those big picture conversations that you're having, and you'll continue to have, like oftentimes when it comes to sustainability matters, there's discussion up front about the cost to put some of these initiatives into place. But at the same time, you talk about the economic development opportunities that putting some of these measures into place may bring revenue back into the city. To me, with a lot of these discussion, it doesn't have to be an either or thing like a lot of things when it comes to public policy are these days, unfortunately. Would you agree with that?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And currently, with the passage of the Inflation Reduction Act, whether, like this year, my wife and I put solar on our house. I guess it was last year now. And, we were able to get a 30% federal tax credit for that. Well, on an $11,000 system, that was a nice benefit to receive. Now, nonprofit entities like the city of Decorah can install systems and receive the value of that tax credit as a cash grant from the federal government. That's brand new. That did not exist before. And so, if you think about $100,000 project where you get 30,000 back from Uncle Sam, well, that just shaved off quite a bit of time to pay back that system, right? And so there are lots of good, just plain old financial, conservative, money management reasons to make these investments, especially, and I'm not trying to pick on Alliant, but Alliant has very high rates, especially on the residential side, but even on the commercial side. The Casey's in the Mid-American Service Territory is paying 50% less for its electricity compared to the Casey's in the Alliant Service Territory. That's a big deal. And so, anyway, there are good reasons to make these investments. You don't have to necessarily be drinking the Kool-Aid on climate change, although I encourage you to drink the Kool-Aid because I think they're right about it. But you can just save money, God forbid we save some money. So that's a good thing.
And nobody will ever argue with this. And you talk about updating this plan. It was put into place that this plan would be looked at the very least and updated every 5 years. I'd imagine if you look 5, 10, 15, 20 years into the future, there's probably some items that need to be addressed that we're not even thinking of and we can't even think of right now. Would you agree?
Exactly. And that's why they had the good sense of putting in that, revise it every 5 years because things do change. Technology changes, policy changes. So yeah, absolutely, Darren. That's why it's there. Yeah, there's something else I was going to say, but I'll think of it later.
It happens to me all the time. Let's talk about the event on Saturday morning. What's going to take place? When should people show up? Tell us what will all entail the event Saturday morning at Pulpit.
Sure. Yeah, I think it's from 9 to 11, so 2 hours. You don't have to stay the full 2 hours. It'll begin with a sort of introduction to, us as a commission and what we're doing, why we're doing it. And then there'll be opportunities for people to kind of follow their nose. So, well, I'm really more interested in air and water than I am in economic development. So I'm going to go over to this table and learn, well, what has that group been working on and how can I contribute my ideas to that group? And so the time will be flexible enough where about every 20 minutes, folks will be invited to get up and move to a different table if they want to. And hopefully, they'll make use of the full 2 hours to, head over to the economic development table and the energy table and the waste table and, just share their ideas and learn more about what has happened. So this is the initial stage of public input where we're trying to get input from the community. There are also going to be ways to do that. Not everyone can come to these two meetings, and some people I'm more introverted. I'd rather just fill out a Google sheet, right? And so there will be links on the Decorah Sustainability Commission webpage at the City of Decorah website, where then you can click on something, learn about what we've done in these areas, and then be invited to give your views. Once we get that information this spring, then during the summer, the 8 subcommittees of the commission will be working on, well, what did we hear? What do we think? What do we think as a group about what should be in the next plan? Then we'll put together a sort of draft of that, and then we'll have another round of public input in the fall, where we do the same thing, at least 2 public sessions where people are invited to come and, well, here's what we're thinking. What do you think about it? That kind of stuff. Get that feedback, go back into our subcommittees, do our work, come back with a final plan that we review as a commission, presumably approve, and commend to the city council for adoption, ideally by the end of the year. So that's kind of the big picture game plan.
All right, you took care of the last 2 questions that I had there, Jim. Anything else that we haven't touched on? Anything we're missing regarding this conversation right now?
No, I mean, I would say it's really been a joy for me. It's the first time the commission has existed. It's been an honor to be kind of in on the ground floor and to serve as the chair. One of the things that's really been wonderful is getting to know city staff. and to see the diligence with which they try to manage public funds. And I will say this about our wastewater treatment plant. It is extraordinarily efficient. They have relentlessly exploited energy efficiency opportunities through programs offered by Alliant Energy. The city staff did a whole comprehensive look at energy efficiency and renewable energy opportunities, provided a great report at the outset. And so it was clear to us that while we're supposed to be sort of managing stuff related to sustainability, it's not like we're starting at ground zero. We got really smart, capable people trying to achieve these good things, and they have been doing it for quite a while. So our job is just to help them, help them as they continue to do that, and perhaps bring new ideas and new focus areas to their attention.
Jim, appreciate the time and the knowledge. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you, Darren. Really appreciate the invitation.
Jim Martin-Schramm, he is with the Decorah Sustainability Commission. The public has their chance to put some 2 cents in on the plan coming up Saturday morning from 9 until 11 at the Pulpit Rock Conference Room. Having a conversation this morning with David Burrett. He is with the Decorah Police Department, and Chris Wuebker. He is with the Winneshiek County Sheriff's Office. And the topic of discussion this morning is Child Abuse Awareness and Prevention Month. And David, we'll start with you before we get into the in-depth issues regarding what we're talking about this morning. Let's define child abuse. Sometimes it's one of those things that we think about it at the top of our mind, but maybe we can't clearly define it. What legally is the definition of child abuse?
So child abuse is anything like denial of critical care, your basic needs, food, shelter, and then it goes into other things as far as like if they're, exposed to certain things as far as substances, drugs, and then physical abuse, sexual abuse. So there's a wide range of where it falls under.
And Chris, normally when we talk about child abuse, we think of a domestic situation. From the outside looking in, I would assume that it's not always a domestic situation when we're dealing with this issue. Is that fair to say?
Very much so. Decorah Police Department and Sheriff's Office, we get, the state, all we can do is base it off of numbers from 2022 is what we are out there by DHS. And it seems like there's staggering numbers for child abuse out there for the state of Iowa. And like, Dave was saying that it can relate to a lot of different things, from neglect to dangerous substances, physical abuse, sexual abuse. And it doesn't have to be, from the parents themselves. It can be from a number of different people that the child is around or has access to the child, which makes it sometimes difficult for those families and stuff like that.
And Dave, how hard is it to get this issue to the forefront when you have the dynamic of an adult doing harm to a child? Because normally when you're growing up, you're taught to respect adults and look up to them. But at the same time, there are adults out there that do harm to children. How hard is it to get help knowing the fact that that dynamic just kind of naturally creates some issues?
Yeah, it's difficult that way because, you got kids that, are grown up in that and that's all they may know. And they don't know who to talk to or how to report it. And so it kind of relies on other family members or friends of the family and to recognize that type of abuse or recognize, hey, this might not be right in that family dynamic and maybe I should say something. And that's what it comes down to, is saying something and letting us know, whether it's calling us directly here at the sheriff's office or police department and, talking with us and, letting us know their concerns. And we can go from there whether we should report it to DHS, and they could either report to us or go directly to DHS as well. And then we work as a partnership with DHS to investigate these accusations or claims of child abuse.
Chris, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no worries. I just wanted to touch on what Dave was saying. Children are put in a really vulnerable spot. And so we're the voice for those kids in a lot of situations. And that partnership with teachers, with counselors, with the community itself is our biggest advocate for these kids. And so by seeing something and saying something is really important. And like Dave touched on, we'd love for you guys to call us. We'd love for you to call the police department and the sheriff's office and talk to us, because we can make that phone call to DHS. But if you're uncomfortable with us, for whatever reason, there is a hotline that can be called that you can just Google DHS. Iowa DHS, and there's a 1-800 number to be able to actually report it and say something. And people sometimes get super frustrated with child abuse cases because they felt like they've called however many times to DHS and stuff like that. But sometimes it takes 4 or 5 calls until things get rolling, until doors get opened for that kid. Like Dave was talking, we have a partnership with DHS. We have a partnership with the county attorney's office. We have a partnership with the Child Protection Center out of Allen Hospital down in Waterloo that we really try to work closely with when a child reports something, sexual in nature or abuse in nature or anything like that. We can then take that child and work through a process. And I always tell people, bad guys don't live by rules, but we have to. And so sometimes people get frustrated with law enforcement and with our process because it takes longer than some would like. But that's a process we have to do, because otherwise, when we go to prosecution, when we go to get some justice that needs to be done, we can't do it if we skip steps and we do things incorrectly.
And Dave, you talk about if you're out there and if you see something, you should bring it up. Sometimes, just as natured as upper Midwesterners, we tend to mind our own business and try not to get involved with things that might not make us comfortable. How do you get the public to the point of thinking that if there's harm being done to a child, that they have to contact somebody?
And yeah, that's another tough thing, because people do like to mind their own business, and might see something and not recognize it right away, and then later on, like, oh man, that wasn't right. So if they're not comfortable, like I said, the best way is to call us. We can always go in and if it's out at a store or something and you see something that just doesn't sit right with you, you can always call us and we can always do a check on it and stuff like that. But the biggest step would be for that person or people to recognize it there and just voice their concern directly to the parent or guardian or whoever might be in charge of that child at the time. Because like Deputy Wuebker said, like, we are the voice for those kids. When we see something, we have to say something.
And when bringing up matters like this, Chris, can it be done anonymously?
So yes and no. I want to be clear on that. You can report it to DHS, but here's the thing: is I want people to understand is that we're dealing with kids here, and if you feel strongly enough to say something, put your name beside it and stand up for those kids. Be that voice for them as well. There is a certain point of not disclosing as far as information of where we got it and stuff like that. But at a certain point, we need people to stand with us and stand up for these kids and stand behind their statements and stuff like that. And so you can call in anonymously to DHS, and but they'll ask for names and stuff like that. And but it's not always given to law enforcement. But we ask that come and report it to us and stand up for those kids with us. One thing that Dave and I, a good line that we wanted to make sure that we said is, problems don't get fixed unless people with information actually make the call and continue to call. We want these problems fixed, and we have problems just like everyone else does in the state of Iowa. We have this kind of unfortunate child abuse in our area that we have to investigate between the two of us, and that partnership really helps out with us from our communities.
And Dave, I know oftentimes we bring up statistics when it comes to matters like this, but I often think that instead of looking at the big picture of statistics, if this happens once, it's too many times. Is that a fair way to put it?
Yep, that's fair. That's exactly what we believe in. You know, that's like we keep saying, we gotta be the voice for those kids. One time is one too many.
And Chris, you brought up the 2022 numbers, which see a little bit of an increase in this happening in our area, but you also look at the context of those numbers. Is that maybe a sign that more people are speaking up and getting the kids the protection that they need, and they're more comfortable doing so than maybe they were 5, 10, 15 years ago?
Absolutely. It deals and it helps with things like this where we're able to talk and give information to the community. And, our other programs that we go out and we go and talk to the community and taking victim-based approaches on other, it's Sexual Assault Awareness Month as well. And getting people coming and comfortable talking with us is extremely important for that partnership in our community. And, I'd be remiss if I didn't say, of the child abuse cases, neglect was that top one, the denial of care. And I think, as Midwesterns and stuff, sometimes we're proud, to ask for that help, and sometimes too. And so we want to make sure that people know that, just because they come and talk to us and say, hey, I need some help, and, I need some help with my kids, maybe financially, maybe, a lot of different ways. We can find those doors and those resources to get them to too. And so just because you come and talk to us about problems that you're having, we're not going to be the parent for the kid. We can't go that far, but what we can do is we can help with resources and get them in the right areas that they need to have.
Dave, anything we're missing, anything else the public needs to know regarding this all-important issue?
I think we covered as much as we can right now. And just to build off of what Wuebker just said about coming to talk to us, if you don't feel comfortable talking to us, you can always reach out to your medical provider, schools, there's people out there that are willing to listen and hear what your concerns are. And that goes for the parents that may be struggling with at-home stuff, whether it's financially or just emotionally with the kids and stuff like that. And it's tough raising kids. We know that. So
we have kids of our own,
Yep.
So we understand that, and maybe that's why it plays, more to our hearts and more to our investigations, is because we have kids of our own. We understand and feel for those kids, and just because it's reported to us, it doesn't leave us. We carry it with us, and so sometimes it's pretty difficult to see situations and stuff like that get reported.
All right, Chris and Dave, we appreciate you taking some time to talk about this all-important issue. Thanks for the time this morning, and more importantly, thanks for what you guys do to keep our community safe.
Thank you.
Thanks.
David Burrett from the Decorah Police Department, and Chris Wuebker from the Winneshiek County Sheriff's Office, talking about Child Abuse Awareness and Prevention Month. Having a conversation this morning with Caledonia football coach Carl Fruechte. This Saturday night, he will become a member of the Minnesota Football Coaches Association Hall of Fame. And Coach, when you got the notification that you were getting this recognition, what was the emotion?
I was pretty shocked. It wasn't really on my radar. To be honest, we were starting our Bible study, and it was a Wednesday night, and I got a phone call, and I looked at it. I'm like, for some reason, usually I just let them go. And for some reason, Darren, I grabbed it, and was Paul Lemke from the association, and just had a real nice conversation. I thanked him, and I was, very humbled. And, like I've been saying, this is a Caledonia, Eitzen, Freeburg, Brownsville, Hoka Community Award.
Let's take it back a ways when you first decided what you were going to be doing professionally. What made education and education-based athletics the right career choice for you?
To be honest with you, Darren, I grew up in the early 80s, and I think our school and our town was going through some tough times, is the way I look at it. It's always interesting to me, Darren, when I talk to my friends. I was the first of 12 going through. A lot of my friends were in the middle of the pack of their family or the end of their pack. And so things were viewed differently. I knew as a junior, and I never verbalized this, but I knew as a junior I wanted to be a coach. I specifically wanted to be a football coach. It was just a different time in Caledonia. I think when you're young and immature, you're a little bit bitter, if you want me to be real honest. And as I look back at some of the coaches, I get it now. They got wives, they got kids, they got pressures to pay bills and take care of things, and they just got life. And when you're young, you sort of think it's all about you, right? And then as you get older, you realize, hey, they had a lot going on in their life. So I respect my coaches from high school. It was not an easy time in Caledonia. But with that said, I believe it was on purpose, Darren. I think what I went through was God's way of saying, you think you can do a better job? Here's your chance. And I'm not saying I did a better job. I just try to reflect back what I went through in the 80s. I hope I'm saying that right.
When you look at the fact that you've been around coaching and been around young people for 40 years, what's kept you in coaching?
Honestly, my faith. I believe Jesus Christ wants us to keep pushing and keep encouraging and keep caring about our fellow man and to never give up. And to be honest, and Darren, I'm proud of all the coaching staffs at Caledonia. We are very honest with our kids, and when we mess up, we say, "Hey, that was a bad call," or "You know what, I had a tough day," and it's not just football; it's all of our coaches. I think we understand that our job is to get them ready for real life. The older I get, Darren, the more I reflect even more on my dad. My dad always said, sport is to get young people ready for real life. And, for me, when I got into football, he said, remember now, your job is to make them great husbands and great dads. And I know that's all cheesy and all that garbage, but I believe in it. And I believe that it wins you football games. And yeah, would I like us to win more state titles for these kids? Yeah. But I do believe in the mission that our coaching staff is portraying or getting through to young people.
You mentioned you're getting this recognition because of the community that you're serving in. How do you get your community, or how have you gotten your community over the years to accept that, yes, we want the success on the field or on the mat or on the court, but at the same time, we have a bigger picture philosophy because we want you to be champions in life? How do you get your community to accept that big picture philosophy and not be so immediate results focused like too many of us are in today's day and age?
Yeah, again, the older you get, and I'm going to be extremely honest, Darren, which I always am with you. I try to always be honest, period. It's something you say, right? I was an assistant coach under Mark Rilling. And I still love that man. I could have been his assistant coach forever. He left for two reasons. One I'll talk about. One was the drinking culture in Caledonia. And I begged him to stay. The other one we had no control over. And I just told him, I said, just ignore it. Let's just recruit our hallways. And the other one was, let's try a different approach to the drinking and drug issue. He did not want to raise his family in. He's a very strong Christian man. He did not want. He just felt like it was a tidal wave, and so Mark left, and that was devastating. And then Chris Fadness was our head basketball coach, another great mentor, coach, man, and he had to leave, and it was very devastating, Darren, to me at the time. Because I begged Chris to stay too, but I could, I got it. Again, it was family. And my point is, Darren, is I could have been assistant coach the rest of my career, and I still feel like, again, assistant coaches do not get the credit they deserve. You don't have great assistant coaches. They're going to be out in the community, right? And so to me, everything comes out to trust. I'm not really a social guy. I mean, I'll go out and have a burger and stuff with my wife, but I just don't go out much. But your assistant coaches are going to go out, and they got to have your back, and they got to be able to tell people, no, this is what coach is trying to do. And to be honest with you, Darren, it was a battle right away. As I look back, I like some of the things that I did and some of the things I don't like that I did. But I was bullheaded. I didn't really care what people thought. I wanted to do something different with how to stop the drinking culture. And I don't think you're ever going to stop it. But I think you can slow it down. And I think we've done that. Now, I'm not foolish. I know kids are going to be kids. But again, you talk about the 40 years instead of the 4 years. And the biggest thing is trust. And, and again, Darren, I'm going to be real again. The day the parents don't want to trust in us, and again, it's getting harder, right, because of our society. And to some degree, I don't blame them, right? You got coaches doing perverted things. You got authority figures doing bad things. The trust thing keeps getting chopped away at. When they don't want to trust us, when they don't want to say, hey, I trust in Coach Fruechte and his staff and what they do, hey, we'll struggle. That's just the way it is. You got to have that trust. And that was the biggest thing. And I just tried to stay consistent. Ken Vandenboom hired me. He was one of my teachers. He's still a great mentor. I love him like a father. Him and my dad gave me great advice. Other people did too. Leo Simon. I'm going to draw some blanks here, but there was just a lot of great older men that I'm like, smart. So my biggest thing was being consistent, be trustworthy, admit when you make a mistake, and just stay consistent. I think our world needs that more than ever before, Darren, is be consistent. That's my long-winded answer. Sorry.
It was a great answer and a great explanation. And I know you obviously get the most attention for the football end of things, and that's why we're having this conversation. But you've been involved with many other sports at Caledonia as well. The things that you mentioned to try to get your football program on the same track, seemingly you're doing a pretty decent job in Caledonia getting all your programs kind of to buy into the same way. How important is it to not only get your football staff, but all the activity coaches and coordinators on board to say, we're in this for young people and for their betterment?
Well, if we just go through the winter sports with Brad, I'll just stay on the male side.
Okay.
But our female coaches are the same.
Yeah.
Especially our basketball and our wrestling coaches, Shay and Brad do an outstanding job. Their staff do a great job. They care about kids. I know those two guys and they care deeply. They stay up at night, they think, and their coaches, just like my coaches, obviously I'm part of the track program. So I know how Coach Waite works. I know that he's, constantly, what can we do to help these kids, get them better? And Sean Bauer, our baseball coach, before him, Brad Agudal, great men, great people. They're assistant coaches. They care deeply. We all sort of talk and exchange ideas and how can we help this kid and what can we do to motivate this kid? And I just, and again, the volleyball, the girls basketball, our gymnastics coach, they're all doing great job. Chad Agudal, softball, Mitchell Bechtel, girls, I'm just very proud, Darren. They care about the person first. Now, sometimes I'm going to throw this in too, Darren. Sometimes people forget that, you have, let's just take track. Our track numbers are getting better and better. Reese and Mitchell are recruiting the hallways, doing the best they can. Sometimes parents only think about their little Jane or their little Johnny. We have 40 to 50 kids to think about every single day. So again, sometimes things get missed. Sometimes, hey, this is what's best for the program. And sometimes parents think, well, that's not right for Jane or John. Well, sometimes they've got to learn from it and they got to understand it's not always going to be perfect. But, I'm very proud of our staff, Darren.
You mentioned an interesting point that a lot of coaches go through. Obviously, you've raised kids of your own that have been pretty active in sports and activities. Raising, what's similar being a father/coach? What's different being a father/coach when it's your own flesh and blood out there?
Well, I'll go with the latter question first. Just it'll probably blend into your first. I think that, well, first of all, right, I feel guys like Brad King and I were blessed, right? I think if I got this right, I think Brad is the oldest of 10. I'm the oldest of 12. Please forgive me, Linda King, if I get this wrong. So unfortunately, I'll speak for myself on this. I wasn't always the best big brother. So I learned things, I did things, that I could have done better with my own brothers and sisters. I think I was a decent brother. I was very motivating. I wanted to help my brothers and sisters. But let's be honest, you're going to mess up. And so then when you have your own kids, and again, my mom and dad did a great job talking to me, how to raise. Becky and I have these thoughts. Some things worked, some things didn't. And again, going back to my father, right? You want to raise these boys to be better than you and, be great dads and husbands. So you sort of had practice on Alicia, Isaac, and Maria. and I think I'm more patient now. I'm older, obviously, I'm almost 60. You're just more patient. You're more understanding, but you still have a standard. You still have a standard. This is the standard that you got to get to. And so I think you have all that experience, and you're not afraid, at least for me, I'm not afraid to say, you know what, I messed up with Alicia here. I should have done this better or Cody Moore. I should have done this better for Cody and Zach Grant and Cody Peterson and all those great guys. Yeah, we won a state title, but I wish I would have done better for them. And so, you're not afraid to admit your mistakes and things like that. And so to a degree, I think I'm a better grandfather to my players right now.
This is probably an easy question. It might not be an easy question to answer in today's society, but overall, what is the value of high school football, high school athletics, high school activities?
To me, they're everything. I was fortunate enough, and I'm sorry that I get off on these little rabbit trails, Darren. I was fortunate enough last week to stay. I've never been this long gone from Caledonia High School, but I was with my grandsons, Ike and Zeke, and hung out with Isaac, and they did a coaching clinic, and there was like 45, 50 coaches there. And one of the things that I was telling those coaches was I grew up in the early 80s, and I could sort of see that the small farm was dying. In my humble opinion, Darren, our country was a better place when there was small individual farms. Nothing against the big farms now, but I just think it was better for our society. Dad was, son, you got to do this. Daughter, you got to do this, right? So those disappeared. Now it's filling the void. So to me, it had to be, I remember walking the field in the late 90s, like, we've got to fill the void. Now, granted, obviously we would like more faith and family, more academics, but we also got high school kids, right? And so we got to give them activities. And to me, it was like, it's got to be football. It's got to be wrestling. Got to be basketball. Got to be track, baseball. Otherwise, they're going to get in trouble. They're going to be running around. And what's our biggest thing, Darren, that we're fighting right now? I was just listening to a Joe Rogan podcast on Jonathan Haidt. Our teenage kids, the average in America is 9 hours a day with screen time. So, we've got to, somehow our country's got to push back and get that screen time put away, get that cell phone. And that's the importance of football, basketball, wrestling, spring sports. I think it's better for the kids to be with us than to go home and mom and dad, or they're working their tails off than sitting in front of a TV or a cell phone. So to me, football has gotten even more important. Not less. It's gotten more important. We need more kids, even if they're not the greatest. Come on out, be active, be with your fellow classmate, learn some things, understand you're going to get your butt chewed once in a while, learn to overcome all the cheesy stuff that is so important, Darren.
And piggybacking on that, obviously there's a club sport culture in today's world. You don't see it in football as much because you can't beat up your body 12 months out of the year, but the club sport culture versus education-based athletics, why is education-based athletics still so important, knowing the fact that the maybe club sport culture caters to the most talented and gifted?
Yeah, and I think it's become a money-making thing. I just think that there's too much of it. There's too many clubs, like that coach is seeing the dollar sink, and I also, again, I trust our coaches. I think high school coaches have what's in the best interest of their kids. Sometimes sometimes the club coach is only concerned about the club coach. he's not concerned about the well-being. He's looking for his reputation. Where's his, again, in the bigger cities, those club coaches are going on to college jobs or bigger, club jobs. And, I don't know. I just think overall the local high school coach is a better, I'm just going to say it, person. I think he's just a better person. Now, there's some great guys out there. We know that. I'm talking the percentages, and I could be wrong too, but that's just what I see.
And, it has always struck me, because I've had a few conversations like with Kirk Ferentz down at Iowa. He always says your best football coaches are your high school football coaches because, number one, they're educators as their main job. And that always struck with me because obviously we get this reputation that if you move on and you move up to bigger schools or the college level or beyond that, those are the best coaches. And what Coach Ferentz brought up many times, whether it be press conferences I was in or a few times I've had to have one-on-one conversation with them, that always resonated with me and seems to be what you're saying as well.
Yeah, I mean, actually, Coach and I have talked about that years ago. He and I, when our Carl Klug played down there, and he was looking at a couple of our players afterwards. We've talked about that, and I think for me, Darren, when I first got into coaching, I thought the college guys were the smartest, and I mean this with the most respect. You learn through the day, through years. That's not always true. And they're sometimes more interested in their career than they are the young person. And again, I'd like to feel that we care more about the young person. Again, it's more than just the 4 years. It's the 40 to 50, 60 years we hope afterwards. So I definitely agree with Coach.
The good things that we see out of high school football, athletics, activities, how do we keep them going? How do you make this sustainable for the future?
I think, my humble opinion, I think coaches got to start pushing back when they start getting garbage. I think it's getting a little ridiculous out there. I hate to say it. Mr. Vandenboom and I had to talk about this years ago, and I just said, I'm not going to let a parent go off on me when I'm busting my cheeks and I'm giving up my time for my wife, who gives me 100%. And when I'm away from my kids, you don't have to like my X's and O's. You don't get to say about that. The only time, a parent should is if your coach is doing something like, I hate to say it, like it's almost perverted or he's you don't get to question his X's and O's. You don't like it, fine. Sometimes, you know what, Darren, I don't like what I call on a Friday night. I go home like, dang it, why did we call that? Or why did I do that? So at the end of the day, again, it goes back to real life. Unless the coach has issues, and I don't really want to label anything, leave him alone, support him. And I think we just got to get more demanding. It's getting ridiculous, and I'll be, again, honest, Darren, some of these guys, they can't even control their own family. Well, a guy like me, I got 100 guys, I got 100 kids. I don't just care just about the varsity. I care about all the way down to third grade. We've had numbers of 125 kids. I am responsible for all 125 of them. And so people need to keep their lane and just understand, yep, we're going to make a mistake, but you know what? You do too. And nobody calls you out on it on a, weekend day when you're blowing things up with your son or daughter. So be careful. I honestly, I think pushback has to happen, Darren. I just do.
And as part of that, as coaches, you got to be vulnerable enough to say, you know what? I didn't do that well. And you got to be honest about that too, so it'd be a give and take situation,
Absolutely.
right?
Yeah. When we have a coaches, we have our parent, Scott Sorensen does a great job organizing we're getting back to in-house parent coach meeting. And I like that. We need to do that. Hey, I'm going to mess up. I've never claimed to be perfect. I don't know many coaches that claim to be perfect. We're striving to do the best we can. Again, is your son working as hard as he can? Is he abiding by the training rules? Or, are you looking the other way when he's doing things he shouldn't? Is he getting up in the morning and getting to, the opportunities that we're giving your son or daughter? We're about giving opportunities. And if you don't take advantage of opportunities, then you have to understand, well, sometimes your son doesn't get what he wants. And that's the way it is. That's life, man. I believe in the Vince Lombardi. You better be getting there early and you better be staying late. And of course, again, faith and family come first, school, And then for us, what we tell the football team is athletics, because I understand some kids love baseball more than football. Some kids love basketball more than football. Some kids love wrestling. I'm fine with that. But the good Lord gave you the battery, the energy to go 100% in everything you do. Now, your best is probably better than my best, Darren, and I'm okay with that, but at least give it your best.
And I think you bring up an excellent point there. Opportunity versus result, because in life, you're only guaranteed and hoping for an opportunity. You're not guaranteed the results. And sometimes you can do everything right and not get that result, and you can learn from that. But I think that's the excellent point that is often missed in today's society. You deserve an opportunity if you do everything that is necessary. You're not guaranteed the result.
You're not guaranteed anything. And case in point this year, right? JCC kicked our butts, but we're proud of our team. You know, I always tell everybody, if they ever really listen, Darren, I always say, I'm proud of our work ethic. I'm proud of what we do. I don't say, well, I'm proud of the 10 wins. You know, I think we were 10-1 this year. I've never said that. I've always said, I'm proud of our work ethic. They can control their work ethic. You know, we got beat by a really good team. You know what you do? You tip your hat and you say, we're going to get better as a program, but we're proud of those seniors, of, you know, what Jordan and Owen, I'm not even going to go name them all, but, you know, all those seniors, what they did and how they strove. And, you know, and the year before, you know, 8-3, I'm not going to apologize for 8-3, Darren. It's a great football season, and those kids were great kids. And like I always tell everybody, we're proud of every year. We've never had a bad year. Have some ended a little bit shorter than we wanted? Sure. You know why, Darren, you want the season to keep going? Because you love being with young people. You love the Aiden Getzingers, the Tucker Ginters, you know, all those guys. You love being with them. They're great human beings. And you just want to stay, you know, keep with them, because you know that it's on to the next sport, or, you know, they're going to move on to jobs and other things and school. So you just enjoy the time, because, you know, we're pretty blessed here in southern Minnesota to have great human beings.
All right, Coach, I appreciate the conversation. Congratulations on being inducted into the Minnesota Football Coaches Association Hall of Fame. And I got to say, you're very good on the coaching end of things, but he's not too bad of a football color commentator either. Last time Carl and I were together, he did color and I did play-by-play for a semifinal on NSPN.TV last fall, and I had a blast working with you, Coach. But with all due respect, if I never get that opportunity again, it'll probably be way too soon, because I'd rather see you on the sideline, my friend.
Again, thank you, sir. But you carried the package that night, I hope to be. You know, again, we're just going to keep striving, Darren. And I appreciate your kind words, and I loved working with you. You're such a great professional, and I'm not just saying this. I love, Darren, how you see the bigger picture of what high school sports is about. So I thank you, sir, for all your work.
Minnesota Football Coaches Association Hall of Famer Carl Fruechte being inducted this weekend. Hey, thank you to our guest on the program this morning, Jessica Rilling from the Decorah Area Chamber of Commerce. Women's Weekend Out coming up this weekend. Stacey Gossling with the Winneshiek County Historical Society annual meeting coming up this Saturday at the Historical Society House on Mill Street. Open house, a part of that as well. Want to give your 2 cents on the Decorah sustainability plan in the future? You can stop by Pulpit tomorrow morning from 9 a.m. until 11 a.m. Jim Martin-Schramm from the Decorah Sustainability Commission joining us. Also, Dave Burrett and Chris Wuebker with the Decorah Police Department and the Winneshiek County Sheriff's Office, respectively. We're talking about child abuse Awareness Month, and congratulations going out to our friend Carl Fruechte, head coach of the Caledonia Warriors. He is going into the Minnesota Football Coaches Association Hall of Fame this week. Don't forget, we put these shows on YouTube each and every week. We realize you're busy. You can't always be near a radio or a smart speaker or a streaming device at 9 o'clock on a Thursday morning, but we have the honor and the pleasure of talking to interesting people, and we want to give you these conversations on your schedule. If you're out looking at old TV clips, funny cat videos, anything else on YouTube, just go to for Our Town program. That's a great way to get it if you just want to search it on YouTube. And we also put the links on all of our radio station Facebook pages to make sure that you have access to this show whenever you want it. Another way we try to do our best to be in touch with our communities here at LA Communications. Thank you to our guests. Big thank you to our sponsor, Decorah Bank and Trust, and we thank you, that's right, you, for tuning in, for logging on, or for watching Our Town on 94.9 and 99.1 The River.